You ever saw a movie or had an experience where something happened and it was so tragic or it was so sudden that it literally kept you stuck in the very moment? You didn't seek help. You didn't go and try to find safety. You just found yourself stuck in the moment. Well, that's exactly how I felt when I was in the most deepest depths of my stuck energy. Hello, beautiful people. What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Danae, and welcome to Just Talk. I hope all is well with y'all. So, I'm doing a bit of a different video today. I'm sharing a testimony with y'all today, and it's about stuck energy. And I'm doing it, one, because God told me to, and I'm being very obedient. And my prayer and my hope is that in me sharing this story with you all, is going to be able to help and bless someone, or multiple someones. And so, yeah, stuck energy. How I identified that I was stuck. I remember back in 2014, I was going home for the holidays, and whenever I would go home, whether it was Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever the holiday was, I would go home for the holidays and I would come back. I started to notice this pattern of, like, I would be happy and excited to go home and see my family and all of these things, right? But then after maybe a day or two of me being home, I'll be so ready to leave, right? I'll be so ready to go back to college, back to my apartment, right? And I started to notice that pattern, and that's how I started to recognize that I was stuck. I was stuck in a pattern of what I thought I wanted versus the life I was realizing I really deserved, right? And so I recognized I was stuck because I started to, basically, college gave me a glimpse of the life I never knew that I wanted, and home never gave me an experience outside of home life, right? And so that's basically how I started to recognize that I was stuck. I was stuck in this toxic cycle, in this toxic pattern, that was literally keeping me, it was literally keeping me stuck in life. Every time I would go home, I would become this 7-year-old girl again who felt like I had to do everything her parents said. Even though I was a young adult and I was 19, you know, and I still felt like I had to do everything everyone told me, whether it was my elder siblings, whether it was, other respectful elders in the family, or whomever these people were. I just felt like I had to do what these people said, right? And so it got to a point to where I was so obedient to what people were saying to me and telling me to do, but I felt stuck in who I was. Like, I didn't feel whole or complete in who I was or what I wanted or needed. And so that's how I recognized that I was stuck. Because it was like, even though I was doing all the right things all the time, I still felt stuck. I still felt like I wasn't growing. I wasn't becoming the person I wanted to become. I realized my relationships had become stagnant as a result. And so what I did to start to break myself free from those patterns is, one, I realized, like, okay, maybe I'm not communicating as best as I could in those relationships. And I started trying to communicate more clearly and have healthier communications with the people. I've started trying to have more healthy conversations. Y'all, these bugs are out here tearing me up. But anyway, I started trying to have more healthy communication with the people, with my loved ones, with my friends, whoever these people were. And so that was the first step that I took, right? I decided that I wanted to, try to mend the relationships in my life, right? And so I started to have healthy conversations, have the hard, uncomfortable conversations that I knew needed to be had, but I also knew other people weren't ready for it, or other people may not have wanted to have. I started having those conversations regardless. And the second thing I started to do was I started to set clear boundaries. I remember one of the things I started to do was, whenever people would ask favors of me, I would, or ask me if I could do certain things with them or for them, I would tell them, let me check my schedule. And that was a way of setting a clear boundary with people and um, teaching people how to respect my time and helping them to understand that even though I'm your friend or even though I'm your sister, it's important to respect my time, right? Respect the fact that I have a life, right? Respect the fact that, I have things to do, because one of the things that kept me so stuck was the fact that every time family, friends, or loved ones would ask me to do something, I would stop and drop damn near anything that I was doing to do those things for them. It didn't matter how big or small it was. If they wanted or needed anything from me, I would do those things. And so it was that type of behavior that was keeping me stuck. So I started communicating healthily. I started setting healthy, clear boundaries. And then the third thing I had to do was stop being afraid. I was afraid of fear itself, right? I was afraid of the consequences of if I was to say certain things. I knew it would possibly ruin certain relationships, right? And I didn't want that to happen, because if those relationships are ruined, then that means the life that I've dreamed of having my entire life, I can't have, right? And so I was afraid of fear itself. I was afraid of saying things to certain people, because I was afraid that it was going to turn into a fight, or it was going to become an argument, or it was going to become a disagreement, or it was going to lead to, a falling out. And so it got to a point to where I had decided to myself, I had told myself that I'm going to stop being afraid of fear. I'm going to stop being afraid of the consequences. And I'm going to start doing the things that make me happy. I'm going to start doing the things that make, my heart sing, right? And I'm going to do it regardless of how other people feel about it. Because one of the things that I really realized was keeping me stuck for such a long time was that I kept trying to please. One of the things I had to overcome, y'all, and I don't know who else this is for, but I had to overcome being a people pleaser. I was so set on pleasing the people in my life, whether it was family or friends, loved ones, anybody who was significant or near and dear to me in any type of way. I would jump through hoops and loops, forwards and backwards, to please those people, to have those healthy relationships and things like that with those people. I didn't care what it was, as long as it didn't go against, my principles, um, these bugs are attacking me, y'all. But as long as it didn't go against my principles or my morals, then I would do it, and it didn't matter. But I had to break myself free from that, because the more I tried to people please people, the more stuck I felt, the more lost I became. And God clearly spoke to me and said that I am supposed to please God, not man, because the more you try to please man, the more lost you're going to become, because you're going to lose yourself, and you're going to lose yourself, and you're going to lose your way, right, in life. And so I literally had to stop being afraid of the consequences of my actions, and I had to start doing the things that I knew I wanted and needed to do, and doing it without being afraid, doing it without fear, doing it without worrying about the outcome of my actions, doing it because I knew it was the right thing to do, doing it because my spirit led me to do it. And when I started doing that, y'all, I started to break free in ways I never felt before, y'all. This felt so good. I can't tell you how good it felt, right? And so some of the things that I felt along the process, though, y'all, was heavy. I felt many ways during the process of myself breaking free. But one of the most common things, y'all, that if this is your story, one of the most common things you are going to feel is guilt. You are going to feel guilty about the people you're leaving behind. There's going to be guilt that's going to come up about people that you thought was supposed to be a part of the picture you painted for your life. And you're going to feel guilty because maybe this been your best friend for 20 years. And when you finally make it to a certain place in your life, that person can't go anymore. And you're going to feel guilty about that, because you're going to feel bad that you painted this picture. And God just gave me this vision of the movie Honey. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's a great movie. But basically, Honey, she was a dancer. She was a brilliant dancer. She was a great, director and choreographer. She was just an all-around great person. And she just hadn't made her shot yet. And so She ends up meeting this guy, Michael, who gave her this great opportunity, and she ended up going to one of the biggest parties of the year. She ended up going to one of the biggest parties of the year, and her best friend felt a type of way, not because she was jealous, but her best friend felt a type of way because she missed her birthday, and but it helped Honey's best friend to see that you know she couldn't go with her. And so it was like her best friend almost was like giving her permission to say, I love you enough to allow you to soar, and recognizing that sometimes means I won't be able to go with you, right? But a lot of us, and so in that moment, Honey's best friend was able to help absolve Honey of the guilt that she felt for the fact that her best friend, missed out on one of the hottest parties of the year, and so guilt is one of the things that we most commonly experience, especially when we're breaking free from fear, breaking free from something that we have been holding on to our entire lives. And then fear of the life I thought I wanted was a big one, y'all. Like, I was always like, man, but this person was supposed to be at my wedding, and this person was supposed to do this with me in my business, and this person was supposed to do this with me in this part of my life. And I imagined, right? And it was like all these things of the life I had dreamed and the life I had imagined, right? And I felt bad because in letting those people go and walking away from those relationships, it meant that I wouldn't have that life, right? And so anxious. I felt very anxious because when you're walking away from fear, when you're walking away from certain aspects of who you thought you were or who you wanted to be, you feel anxious because you want the process to be over. You want it to be over and done with. And so you're anxious to get to the end. And then you get to the end of the cycle or the process, and then you realize you missed out on all the fun because you were trying to get to the end. And so anxiety was another thing. Anxiousness was another thing that kept popping up for me, because I kept waiting on the process to be over. But God wanted me to literally enjoy the process, like to literally, as much as possible, enjoy, because it's all part of life, right? It's all a part of life. Even the breaking free from things is a part of the process. It's a part of the cycle, right? And then uncomfortable, discomfort, when we are in a space where we're breaking free from things that are unfamiliar to us, or coming into some things that are unfamiliar to us and doing things like that. Discomfort is one of the most common things, that we experience. And a lot of the times, because we're uncomfortable, being uncomfortable usually tends to send us back to what we are familiar with. And that was part of the reason why I stayed in my cycle for over 8 years. I repeated the same cycle for more than 8 years before I finally finished the process and said, God, I'm done. I've learned my lesson. I'm done with constantly going back and forth, constantly having the same conversations, constantly having to reset those same boundaries, right? Constantly having to do the same things over and over and over again. I was like, God, I'm done. Right? I'm done, God. Like, I was done letting people guilt trip me. I was done letting people emotionally manipulate me. I was done allowing people to get into my head. I was done allowing people to use my heart, as a weapon against me. I was just done. Okay, I was done, y'all. And so the lessons that I learned in my stuckness, number one, was the importance of living, right? When you are stuck, right? When you are confined to a particular way of doing things every single day, that is not living. That is not life. And so when I was stuck, one of the things I really appreciated when I finally became free was the fact that I could do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I didn't have to ask for permission anymore to do something that pleased me. I didn't have y'all, these bugs. I ain't gonna talk about it, but these bugs, let me tell y'all that. But anyway, so living is such an important thing to do, because it's so easy to get stuck in the cycle of it's so easy to get stuck in a cycle where you're like not able to live. And so, but when you finally break free, y'all, it's such a beautiful feeling, and it's such a beautiful feeling, and it's such a beautiful experience to finally be able to set yourself free after you've been stuck in an experience, especially in my experience for over 8 years, and I was finally free. But another lesson that I learned in my stuckness is that life is a wild ride either way. Whether you choose to be free or whether you choose to be stuck, life is going to be a wild ride. So why not enjoy the journey along the way? Why not live as free and as wild a life as possible? Because it was so many opportunities. As I look back, there were so many opportunities that I missed out on that I could have had. So many things I could have done had I allowed myself to be free, had I broken free, right? My life would have been totally different now, right? I'm appreciative for where I am now, right? However, I do recognize that my life could have been completely different had I made, different decisions then, had I chosen to break free, and release myself from my stuckness, right? When God instructed me to, right? But everything happens for a reason. And then number 3, the power of the truth, right? So many things God kept trying to reveal to me through showing me the truth of who people were and things that were happening in my life, but I kept denying it. I kept rejecting it. I kept covering it up. I kept pretending not to hear it, not to see it, not to know it, right? And I kept convincing myself, of something different than what it was, right? And so the power of the truth, like the truth hurts, but the truth is meant to help set you free and keep you free. Because the moment you allow yourself to live a lie, you have now become stuck all over again. And the longer you remain stuck, the harder it becomes to become free. And then the last one is to listen to yourself. Trust yourself. That's the thing that put me in the stuck position in the first place. The fact that I refused to trust myself. Like, I got to a point after so much hurt and so much pain and so much agony that I stopped trusting myself. I stopped trusting, certain things in my life. I stopped trusting that certain things were meant to happen for me, and not against me or not to me, right? And so I stopped trusting myself, right? And I started relying on other people's trust, right? Or relying on other people's instincts or intuition. I started relying on what other people was telling me, and I stopped trusting me, right? And so, y'all, breaking free has been such a beautiful experience for me. It was a long, hard fought journey. But I'm thankful to be here sitting before you, sharing this testimony with you. Please, comment below and let me know if this is your story, and let me know if this resonates with you at all. If you have not already, please be sure to like the video if this resonates with you, and then share with anyone who you think this message can help. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I love you. Peace and love, my beautiful beings. Thank you so much for watching. Peace and love. This is